Thank you very much. It's good to be here and see many of you back, and also some, I understood that we have 22 new students enrolled in the college this semester. Some transferred from health over that were not part of the university during the time they were in health, but there were also others who are just coming on board. And we want to welcome all of you here for this new semester. I thought of, in regards to inspired writings, what we can share with you regarding a new year. And for all of us, it's new in 2024. But this from Isaiah: I have cared for you since you were born. That's a message for each one of you from God Himself. I have cared for you since you were born. Yes, I carried you before you were born. I will be your God throughout your lifetime, until your hair is white with age. I made you, and I will care for you. I will carry you along and save you. That is a message that Christ has for each one of us, if we are willing for Him to be our God. And He's created us. By the way, He created us amid controversy. The enemy did not want Him to create humanity. He hates you. And he'll try to manipulate and deceive you. He's still trying to prove something. But God knew what He was doing. And Christ knew what He was doing when He created you. It's one of the reasons why He loves you. He knows what you are and what you're capable of. When Ellen White's son was 19 years old, I won't ask how many of you are 19, but I know more than one of you would raise your hands. He was beginning a new year. And when I looked this up in regards to the new year, she said this: as you enter upon a new year, let it be with an earnest resolve to have your course onward and upward. Amen. Let your life be more elevated and exalted than it has hitherto been. Make it your aim not to seek your own interest and pleasure. That might cause some of you some pain to even read that and engage in that. Make it your aim not to seek your own interest and pleasure. By the way, the world tells you to watch out for number one. Do what you want to do. Lucifer's whole argument in heaven was, angels can set their own rules. Just let them do whatever they want to do, and we'll be a lot happier up here. And he's still tempting every human being in that same way. But make it your aim not to seek your own interest and pleasure, but to advance the cause of who? Your Redeemer. And I would like to, in fact, there's good evidence, and I could argue the case, I think, pretty well, to state that if you don't seek your own interest and pleasure and advance the cause of your Redeemer, you will have much more pleasure in your life. Remain not in a position where you ever need help yourself and where others have to guard you to keep you in the narrow way. So don't have yourself always be needing to be guided and helped and those sorts of things. Try to have the deans and the RAs have encouraging words to say to you, but not corrective words, if at all possible. And you'll have a better year. You may be strong, she goes on, this is the next paragraph. You may be strong to exert a sanctifying influence upon who? Upon others. This is what we all have the opportunity of here at Weimar. We're always going to be, not always, but many times we're going to be with others. And we can exert a sanctifying influence upon others. You may be where your soul's interest will be awakened to do good to others, to comfort the sorrowful, strengthen the weak, and to bear testimony for Christ whenever opportunity offers. At Weimar, we have something that you all are aware of called total community involvement. This is where we are encouraged every week to go off campus and do good to others. And if they're sorrowful, to comfort them, strengthen the weak. By the way, you even have opportunity on this campus to do this. We have many sorrowful in our program right now. They got here before you did. They started on Thursday. The biggest age group we have in this program is the age group that all of you are presently. We don't have anyone from this university, but we have those from other universities and those who are not in universities or have dropped out of universities. And when you see them, feel free to engage them. They like to see students, and they like to kind of figure out what you're doing here at Weimar, and you'll have the opportunity to comfort the sorrowful, strengthen the weak, and bear your testimony for Christ if that opportunity offers. Aim to honor God in what? How much?
Everything.
In everything. Some of the time? Only certain places? Always and everywhere. Now notice this. Some people would call this extreme. Carry your religion into what? Everything. I thought religion is just kind of a course we take here at Weimar. And then the other things, we don't have to worry about religion. Or we can have our mind go the secular ways. When Weimar was being restarted and our courses were being named, I don't know if you've noticed the names of your courses, but it's not just biology. Can anyone help me with the actual course name for biology? Knowing God through the study of biology. Everything that we learn here has religious principles, and if we carry our religion into everything, we're actually going to understand better. We're going to do better. We're going to have a greater influence, even not only while we're here, but when we leave. And then this statement, be thorough in whatever you undertake. One of the things I'd like to encourage you to do, and these are things that I had to learn when I was in college and also graduate school, was not to just cram for an exam. You guys aren't going to have exams for a little while. By the way, there's no exams allowed on the week of prayer. So that you can come and engage in the week of prayer speaker. And we have our campus chaplain, Pastor Adeline, which I'm very much looking forward to his week of prayer this week. But what I learned that helped me was after class to write down. And I would write small so I would put 3 columns on a blank 11.5 sheet of paper. And I would write down the pearls, the principles from that class. I would also see if there was a book to write down those pearls as well and try to get it in 1 column if at all possible. 8.5 by 11. So I wasn't writing everything down, but I was writing those principles down. When I wrote it down, I understood it even better than when the teacher was presenting it. And then after I wrote it down, I would review it again. And then before the test, I would review it again. So how many times have I gone over it? 3 times. And those 3 times helped to solidify it in my brain so I didn't have to cram even when board exams came about. What my fellow students, and I couldn't figure out why, but I noticed they weren't necessarily having the pattern. They'd be studying for boards, and they would be taking board reviews and all of those sorts of things, and I wouldn't even pay for those board reviews at all. I just learned the material my teachers wanted me to learn. And when it came time for board scores, my board scores were significantly higher than what they would have anticipated based on my grades in the class. They were similar to me in grades in the class. On board exams, not similar, because I had learned those principles well. And board exams are trying to help you to do problem solving based on what you already know. So be what in whatever you undertake? Be thorough. Those who are always busy and go cheerfully about the performance of their daily task are the most happy and healthy. We want our WEMAR students to be the happiest and healthiest of anywhere in any university. And this is the secret. Fill your day with practical, useful things. Be busy, but go how about the performance of those tasks? Cheerfully about the performance of their daily tasks. And you will be the most happy and healthy students. And this goes along with what Eric Braverman, he's done a lot of studies on neuroscience. He's not only a neuroscientist, he's a neurologist and also a psychiatrist. Not very few people have both of those backgrounds. But he says this: happiness comes from the interaction between inspiration and perspiration. This is an inspiration session you're having for assembly today. But it's not enough for happiness. Happiness comes from the interaction between inspiration and what else? Perspiration. Anything that stops humans from perspiring to achieve something inspiring gives a what? A false fantasy and an endless distraction from reaching your full potential. The whole purpose of true education is to have you reach your full potential. And that means you need to look for inspiring things that are worthwhile to perspire after. Too many people are looking at the false fantasies of one YouTube video after another to try to get happiness. What kind of fantasy is that? It's a false fantasy. And yeah, it might make you feel a little different for the short term, but it's not going to give you fulfillment. It's not going to give you that true joy. It's not going to give you that pure satisfaction. Now, you probably wouldn't hear this quote from the typical university president, because most universities attract people that are interested in getting happiness this way. But Ellen White says something else about happiness. She says it's not wealth or intellect that brings happiness. A lot of people seek for higher education because they want to make more money. If they can get wealthier, and it's very true, higher education in general, you'll make higher incomes, those sorts of things. And of course, you get higher education so you can improve your intellect. Your intellect hopefully will improve here. Your ability to learn, retain, and apply knowledge. The intellect hopefully will go way up here. And she does talk about in other places. If you read the parable of the talents in Christ Object Lesson, she'll talk about how valuable true education it is. How valuable it is. She says it's even willing to sacrifice a lot for it. She even gives the statement it's worth going into serious debt to get true education if you can get that debt repaid afterwards as a result of what you have learned and worked and that sort of thing. But it's not wealth or intellect that brings happiness. By the way, the reason why true education is so we can reach all classes of people. If you're highly educated, you can reach the lowest person on the street, and you can reach the highest academic at Harvard, even the ones who have not plagiarized there. It is not wealth or intellect that brings happiness. It is what? True moral worth and a sense of what? Duty performed. This is what brings happiness. If you have moral worth, that means you're following God's rules for you and not your own rules. And that sense of duty performed can give you that sweet sleep at night. She had something else to write to her son when he went away to college. He wrote back. He was a new student. He didn't know people at the college, and there are people like this here. Some of the new students here don't know anybody else here. So I would encourage you to get to know some of these new students. And so he was homesick, and he was what else? Lonely. What do you do when you're lonely? I tell you, it's harder on your generation than it was in my generation. When I was lonely, I began to go into deep thought, analyze things. Here, when you're lonely, you tend to get rid of your loneliness by going into social media and seeing what others have done. And, it seems to help there for a little while. But I would encourage you not to go that route. Here's what she wrote to her son. Your only safety and happiness are in making Christ your constant counselor. You can be happy in him if you had not another friend in the wide world. Your feelings of unrest and homesickness or loneliness may be for what? You're good. If you're lonely or homesick, remember this statement. God might be meaning this for your own good. Your heavenly Father means to teach you to find in him the friendship and love and consolation that will satisfy your most earnest hopes and desires. And I can tell you, if you do that, you will be happier than the person who seems to have the most friends at Weimar University. So I would encourage you at the beginning of this school year, make commitments. Commitments that are worthwhile. I would encourage you to follow God's rules, not your own rules. And through inspiration, God has even given us indication as to when is the best time to sleep when you're studying. Does anyone remember any of those inspired things? 9 o'clock at night? Yeah. Getting up early, having your devotions, your exercise, and your study early in the morning. If you can get on a schedule like that, you'll be a lot more efficient in your studying. So even follow his rules in regards to what's best. Follow his rules in regards to nutrition. I was talking to one of our follow-up patients who went through depression and anxiety recovery. We have something called the Extended Support Program, and he was doing a lot better. And he says, Dr. Nedley, I have found an acronym for your first name. I said, what's that? He said, nutrition eliminates irrational lifestyles. Of course, we were making adjustments in his nutrition and his intake, and he had to be on some supplements, but he said it did eradicate my irrational lifestyle. Nutrition eliminates irrational lifestyles. It is one of my favorite topics. I thought, it kind of fits, but we're given a lot in regards to the healthiest nutrition as far as achieving in academics. We're also given a lot in regards to outdoor exercise. And that during this fresh air, there's something that's been shown in good controlled scientific studies to be mood enhancing and help your learning. And it's an oil emitted from those pine trees called pine needle extract. It's not present to a very high degree in the gym. But it is present out there on those trails. And so those cardio exercises on the trails can really be helpful as well. Other commitments. Ask daily for the indwelling of the Spirit of God to exemplify the fruits of the Spirit in your life. That's how we get those fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, self-control. And then I would encourage you to commit to this. A goal during this semester to win at least one soul for Christ. And that one soul might be a fellow student. Not every soul here has been won for Christ. And these are the ones that you're communicating with, that you're dialoguing with, that you're in class with, that you're studying with. I would encourage you to have that goal, but also on TCI. What can I do to open the way for deeper discussions on those that I'm doing good for? And could I win one soul that could be a member maybe of even this Weimar Church come the end of this school year? Doesn't seem like a lot, but it seems doable. And did you know that if you win one soul every 6 months, and that person wins a soul every 6 months, do you know how long it would take for 8 billion to become fully committed to God? It's 8 billion in this world. You can calculate the math. It's called the power of the exponential. It's 16 and a half years. Less than a generation. Now, we're told 8 billion will not be won to Christ. But I think when the latter rain's poured out, we might even, if we're doing that, we might be set up to win one soul every month. And studies show if we would win one soul every month and that person won one soul every month, the entire 8 billion in this planet would be reached in 3.5 years, the time that Christ was here. So, whether that's a commitment for you to make is something that's up to you, but I would encourage you at the beginning of the school year, that will also bring joy and happiness to your cause. If you make that commitment, and also if you fulfill this commitment. So, this can be my prayer and your prayer. It's a little bit of revision of Psalm 31, 14, and 15. But at the beginning of this new school year, I would encourage you to say, Dear God, I am trusting you, O Lord, saying, you are my God. My future is in your hands. And so it is in your hands, Lord. I will leave it there all year long for 2024. I think it might be appropriate if we just pair off in 2 or 3s and just have a short prayer of being even specific in regards to commitments that you'd like to make to the Lord at the beginning of this new semester as we pair off in two or threes. Let's bow our heads, and if you can kneel, you can do that, or if you want to sit around a place, that can happen as well.